So how do we make the mortgage approval easier? We talked last week. We had Adam Rauman from Bossa Rigi, and we talked about and we're going to talk about this in future shows, what the impact is of electronic mortgages, the e-mortgage system. And part of the goal behind the electronic mortgage is to make the mortgage process easier, quicker, faster. However, a lot of the times the mortgage process isn't as quick as it needs to be, not because the mortgage process, it's because the consumer doesn't follow instructions or get us what we need or isn't prepared enough. So how can we make the mortgage approval process easier? Real first important step, right, John's having all your paperwork and documents ready, right? That's crucial for you guys to have all that.
It is. I think the primary thing, though, I would say is that, start the process early. Talk to a lender. Let us go ahead and, get some of your information together. Just when you're just moving into the thought process of buying a house, don't wait till you sign a contract.
Oh, and that's what happens all the time,
mortgage,
right?
yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how often we get people to put the cart before the horse. Oh, let's look at homes, and then when we find a home, we'll go through the mortgage process.
Right.
Worst mistake you can make, because the problem is you're going to find the house you love. It's going to take you a couple days to get through the pre-approval process, and guess what? Somebody else is going to buy that house.
Right.
Before you even talk to a realtor, start talking to a mortgage lender.
Right.
And certainly we can point you in the right direction of a great mortgage lender. We're going to have them talk to you guys, but quite frankly, it should be the opposite of that. So often we get people who are like, oh, well, who do you recommend? They should already have that done, right? They should have that approval. They should have all their docs in. The paycheck stubs, the W-2s, the tax returns. I mean, basically, everything can be done to approve somebody minus the house.
Right.
Minus approving the house
Right.
and that. I mean, you
Right.
can get all that done up front.
Right, we can do a full credit approval package, and then the only thing we're waiting for is the house, and then the appraisal, and, the process goes much quicker. The other thing too is with the credit today, sometimes people things are on their credit report that they have no idea.
So they need to check their credit report.
Yeah, and they could be minor things, it might have been, the cable box you thought you returned when you moved one time, something didn't get registered right, and there's an $82 collection or something on your credit report. And
Yep.
it will tank your scores.
So paying attention to that. I mean, there's a lot of free credit monitoring services out there. I mean, the whole thing with Target and Michael's, almost everyone has gotten the email from Target. If you shopped at Target and used a credit card, you get free credit monitoring for like a year or two. So you can get up to date on all that stuff at a relatively minimal cost, if not free. So looking at your credit report, knowing what's there, knowing what your score looks like, having all your paperwork up front. Keeping tabs on spending habits too is a big one. You're going to buy a home, and then all of a sudden, a month before you're ready to buy a home, you bought a new car, you bought a bunch of new furniture, you got loans for your new TV, you went out and got computers, you got all kinds of new stuff with credit, and then guess what? Your debt to income's out of line. So you got to make sure that if you're going to buy a home, you don't want to go out and spend a bunch of money.
Right. And sometimes when we meet with clients, we're able to sit and say, kind of help them restructure some of the debt. Because, maybe rather than put a 20% down payment, you reduce some debt.
Yep.
And that would allow you to buy a larger house.
Also, exploring your options, comparing the differences between a 30 and a 15-year mortgage, or an adjustable rate mortgage and a non-adjustable rate mortgage, and then, of course, the different programs. Knowing how they were talking to a lender that knows all the programs. And I mean a local lender. Obviously, we've got FBC Home Loans on the show today, and that's who we're going to recommend. But so often we get people that come to us, and they're talking to some guy in California or Washington or some online lender that quoted them some amazing rate that usually doesn't end up standing true. There's a lot of bait and switch that goes on in that stuff. But they don't know anything about how our local market works. They know nothing about how competitive it is. They know nothing about where the USDA qualified areas are. I mean, I've heard you guys save money for people and make great decisions just because you knew all the local programs. You knew that parts of Wesley Chapel are USDA. And hey, look, you could go there instead of using your 3.5% down payment. You could go USDA there, and have a more competitive offer because you don't have to ask for closing costs. You have enough money for your closing costs. So there's just so many things a local lender can do. And again, the local lender has an attachment to you locally. They have a reputation to manage. They care about your referral opportunity. The online guy, you're like a number.
I mean, I tell clients a lot of times, some of these online services, if they do offer sometimes these incredible rates, which they never close with those, but do you really want to go online and give all your financial information?
There's a risk there too.
With all
Yeah,
the
there's a risk
identity
too.
theft today?
And I think knowing the rates too is another important part of it. You know, just have an idea of where rates are so you can kind of gauge the interest, you know, the back and forth. And I saw this week they're low fours. You know, they're still very
Great.
you know, hyper competitive. So we've given you some tips. If you want to catch this video about how to make the mortgage approval easier, we'll have it on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. And we're going to be right back after a quick news break here on 970 WFLA.